Welcome back to another strategy session of Personal Mastery Training Podcast. I'm your host, Alvin Brown. If you're just tuning in today, do me a quick favor right now before we dive deep. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this episode. When you share the show, you're throwing out a lifeline to someone else, helping them to assess, question, and change the very narratives that keep them stuck and suffering in silence. It's like David Thoreau says, so many men and women live lives of quiet desperation. So, today, here's what I want to talk about. I want to unpack a truth that sits at the very foundation of how we look at our time on this planet. Think about the end of your journey for me. When you're looking back at your life, what do you actually possess? You can't take the bank accounts with you. You can't take the trophies, the titles, or the material things. At the very end, when all the noise of the world fades away, all we have are our experiences and memories that are attached to them. I remember my grandmother near the end of her life. I went to see her, and when I was younger, I used to visit her quite often. And when I would get to her home, she had a small home, a bungalow. It was packed. It was packed with all kinds of things she's collected over the years and her husband. And it was just jammed. And near the end of her life, she went into a home, and all there was in that home, in her room, her big room, was four other patients or four other people living in there. And in the corner of this room is her bed, a night table, some pictures, and so on. And I thought to myself, all of that stuff that was hoarded in that home, jam packed. Now we're down to pictures, a night table, and a few things she finds valuable to her. That's it. So that's all we're collecting. So the strategy we need to look at today is simple. Are you actively taking the time to craft amazing high level experiences? Or are you just letting life happen to you on autopilot, like most of us do? We just get through. Let's call this episode The Guarded Life: Why Avoiding Pain Limits Your Reality. Let's dive into it. Here's the thing. Too many people are caught in the narrative of survival. They're just trying to get through the week, get through the stressful project, get through the pain or the challenges they're going through. They're just getting through it. But you know what our philosophy is here? We don't get through challenges and setbacks and opportunities to grow, we get from them. And that's the only way we're going to grow. And here's the thing that you have to realize, and you just search your experience, you'll know this is true. If we don't learn from it, we're going to go through it again. It's going to show up again in some other way, shape, or form. To get the most from life, you have to be fiercely present, and you have to be the architect of your moments. When you intentionally craft amazing experiences, they create amazing memories. And those memories do something powerful. They expand your reality. Here's a reality expansion principle. Every time you step out of your comfort zone and design a high level experience, your world gets bigger. Your mind stretches. And once your mind is stretched, as the philosopher said, a new reality, it can never shrink back to the same, to its old dimensions. I think it was Einstein, actually. To truly experience life, you have to be vulnerable enough to allow yourself to experience all facets of it. The pain and the pleasure both make up your life. To truly experience life, you have to be vulnerable enough to allow yourself to experience everything about life. What do we normally do though? We try to protect ourselves. We avoid experiences, certain relationships, or certain goals because we don't want to get hurt. This is why a lot of people say they don't believe in goals. I think it's because they don't want to let themselves down, in my opinion, because we set small goals every day. Get some job done at work. That's a goal. Get to the gym. That's a goal. There's small mini goals. So we do set them. But when we talk about the big, here, audacious ones, we refuse. I don't believe in goal setting. So we think if we don't go all in, I can't fail. Or if I don't open up, I won't get rejected. But here's the trap: when you avoid the pain of an experience because you're afraid to be hurt, you completely miss the potential to grow and learn from it. Not only that, but numbing yourself to the negative also numbs your ability to feel the positive. It limits your capacity to show up fully, completely, and authentically in your life, your sports, or your business. You cannot experience peak pleasure and deep fulfillment if you're constantly running away from the risk of pain. Personal mastery means having the emotional resilience to face both. And as some of you listeners know from my past podcast episodes, I've gone through some deep pain. And life doesn't choose the good ones, the bad ones. Life just lifes, unfortunately. So, how do we practically apply this change to the narrative this week? Here are three things I want you to look at. One, audit your guard. Ask yourself, where am I holding back out of fear? Where are you refusing to show up fully because you're trying to protect yourself from discomfort? Step into that space. The obstacle is the way. So, number two, be fiercely present. You cannot craft an extraordinary experience if your mind is drifting constantly. And that's what our mind do. If you leave it alone, it's a time traveler. It goes into the past, the future. It worries about everything, anxiety, regret, all of that. Be where your feet are right now. Feel the textures of life, the tough moments and the beautiful ones. Feel them all. Number three, extract the wisdom. When challenges hit, don't just try to survive them. Ask, what am I meant to get from this? And it's not easy to do that all the time. But eventually, if you practice this becomes a pattern. Turn the raw experience into a permanent memory asset that serves you in your growth. So, as we wrap up this strategy session, I want to leave you with one of my standard reminders to carry with you throughout the week. First, never forget, your story shifts to empowerment when your quest for personal mastery begins. And second, my mentor, Dr. Tom Hill, said this: one idea, well executed, can change your life forever. So I ask you right now, what one idea from this podcast or in the past one or anything you've done this week, a seminar that you've gone, a book you've read, what one idea from this session did you hear today that you will actually apply in your life? Because information and education without application is just entertainment. Don't just let this be background noise too. Take one idea, execute on it, change your narrative, and go expand your reality. Again, I remind you, as we close out, like, subscribe, and share. This show is someone you know who needs to hear this. Maybe not from you. You've been telling them and they're not listening. This might be the one. I might be that outside voice that they finally listen to. All right. Until next week, I'm Alvin Brown. Keep mastering your thoughts, your emotions, and your life. And I wish you peace, love, and a little bit of soul. All right. Until next time, we'll talk.